like this spot. Have you ever been down in that little bowl?
That again?
Have you ever been down in that little bowl and looked around and see what's down in there?
This is the first time I've been off the road.
Oh, you ain't never scouted none of this then. Okay, good.
All we've ever done.
All this is new stuff.
Yeah, everything's new. For me.
Well, me too. I ain't never been over here to any of it. Let's see if they doing anything here in this bowl. I know you really can't tell anything right now at this time of year, but you got all these ridges that completely surround this bowl right here.
I marked this spot.
And what you have a lot of times during the rut, especially, is these does are bedding up on all these little humps and flats and points. These bucks are circling this whole area, looking at the big picture. And when the does take off running, boy, they'll drop off into this bowl in a heartbeat, going from one little point to the other and circling and just keeping these bucks guessing where they're at. I like this little bowl. It'd be tough to hunt the wind direction, because the wind gonna whirl down in this bowl. It may not be the best spot to set up tree stand locations. You can set high on one of these little things, especially with a rifle. You can set pretty high up on one of these little humps. I've sat and watched them do it all day long during rut in a spot like this. So this is a potential rut spot. Well, usually you'll find a scrape location down in here somewhere. You're looking for a big scrape.
I know.
You're not looking for some scratched up paw spot. You're looking for a humdinger. I still like this spot. You see how them two little finger ridges come together right down there about 75 yards? Mm-hmm. That could be a major trail crossing over, going up that doe bed area that we were hunting earlier, or looking at earlier. So you got that spot down there. I'd walk down there and see if there's a trail crossing them fingers. So all these drop down into this little old bottom. But typically when you find a spot like this, you'll be able to see the deer trails, and there'll be a scrape or two, major scrape or two right in here, and we're not finding that. So it's kind of, even though it looks good and it looks like it would have great potential, the deer sign's not here that I'm hoping to find. So we're going to move on. Maybe keep it in the back of our heads, check it once during season, see if it starts to light up. But it's worth coming down here and looking at, though. We eliminated it, if nothing else. I got to the top of this ridge, and you can see a rub line trail coming down this ridge. He's a couple hundred yards down there. Actually, another little bowl over here. Looks like this finger is dropping off. Got some doe bedding down there on that finger ridge. There's some rubs. It's a rub line trail coming down through here. Of course, he could just be coming down here checking on these does. There's a doe bed right here.
Yeah, that's the one. I pulled the hair out of it. I'm standing on one right here.
Okay, you got hair out of this bed. You got one over there. That's small beds.
A couple of does bedding on the end of this. Random times. It's not as heavy as the other one. But
You know, if you think about it, where are we at right now in relation? Look at that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 5. There's one down there. I see maybe 6 by that pine. Maybe 6 doe beds here. In relation to where the other doe beds are, how far do you think we are?
crow flies 150 yards.
150, 200 yard top across that holler on that hump. There's another little bowl right here in front of us. That might be the more active bowl down there. See this finger ridge? All these finger ridges come together down there too. I bet you there's a whole lot more activity down there than what they are behind us, because the doe's bedding down here a little further closer to this spot. You just can't hardly get in there though without running deer. It's not a good spot.
It's farther than I thought.
How far is it?
220 yards straight line.
220. You get to walking in these woods, you kind of get sidetracked how far you've walked. We've made a big loop around here. We're on the other side of where we were. And
yeah, that bowl might be, because it's about to, I mean, that's the sure enough deep holler right over there.
yeah.
So if they're, and there's not a lot of indication of a lot of crossing. So they're coming down this ridge to get this bed. They're probably staying up high and then working their way down the bed here. So I bet you're right. There probably will be a better spot down there, but there's no way to get to it.
You'd be hard pressed to get in there without blowing all the deer out. So during the rut.
See, Chuck and I are debating about when they cut this timber, if we're going to put a field up on this flat spot at the top of this ridge.
Yeah.
Because it's a good spot for it in regards to the way the land lays out. It's far enough away from
It would be, because you could create a food source in between these bed areas. Mm-hmm. In other words, all these beds would be in between two food sources.
Make them travel a little more.
Well, you might create more of a desire for more deer to bed here. Right. And when it starts growing back up, all this timber starts growing back up into a clear-cut thicket, every one of these ridge points is going to have deer bedding on it. And at that point in time, all you're going to have left is your little draws of hardwood, and that over there where we were, they're not going to cut it. So you're still going to have that hardwood setting over there. Well, right now I think your better bowl is down yonder a little bit further down. It's pretty obvious. I doubt we even got to go down there to find it, because that's where all the buck activity was anyway. I don't know how you can get in here without blowing deer out. What you can do is you only got, what, 5 or 6 doe beds here. In all honesty, you could blow these out and hunt pretty aggressive during the rut, and potentially just set up. I see that oak right over there, right there. Find the deer trails that come around this point, and in this pinch, if you can just find 1 or 2 intersections of trails close to this spot, set up on it.
I'm gonna walk down here, then I'll walk back up this finger here.
I tell you what, you walk down there and look for a big scrape, a scrape hub. That's what you're looking for. What you want to see is like one huge scrape that looks like multiple bucks is using it. If you can't find that, at least look for a lot of rubs, something to indicate those bucks are spending time during the rut down there. While he's doing that, I'm gonna run over here to this other finger ridge and check, see if there's any doe bedding on it. I don't know how well y'all can see on this camera or not, but there's as soon as I got over here on this other little finger ridge, there's one doe bed right here. That's the first one. Let's see how many more we got. There's 2 doe beds. You got doe bedding over here on this ridge too. Got some big droppings over there.
Yeah.
You got some droppings right here too that look pretty good size. I tell you what, on the edge of that mountain lower, you're going to find a heavy used trail.
It's going through it. I came up, it's going through it on this side.
It's like every time you get to the end of a ridge like that and you got that mountain laurel growing on it,
it's the freshest rub I've seen.
You'll have a heavy used trail. Yeah, these bigger bucks have a tendency to walk this edge, son.
Yeah,
they just want to stay close to that thick stuff, period. They can duck down in that stuff. Looks like a buck couldn't go through there, but they can duck their head down close to the ground and scoot under that stuff, and they ain't got to go 20 yards and they're out of sight. of any predator that might be after.
Anything up because they're bedding on the ends of it.
Oh, you actually want to put a green field on this ridge?
Yeah, top, but closer up top. It's not gonna come all the way down here.
Well, your bucks are going to hang down here as tight to this as they can when they're traveling through here. These less traveled trails that look like you can't hardly walk them, that's the ones they're going to use. This right here looks like a trail they're using going up and down this. Go out there just a little way, see if there's a bluff gap they can go up and down that bluff. Because they're using this little gap right here. You're going to clean it out for them? Make it easier for them to get through it? If you got a bluff gap right there at the end where the deer are going up and down this bluff, you found you a potential honey hole during the rut. What you might have, if you care to plow out there to that last little hump, you might have a buck bed right there on that hump on this side of the mountain laurel. It's not a bluff gap though. Not what I was looking for. You want to go out there and see if there's a buck bedded on it or no?
Nope.
If it is, it's to be a buck where he's monitoring the does during the rut. So
he's safe.
Really, yeah, I wouldn't bother. I would hunt him back behind us where he's going in and out of this spot. I would just assume there's a potential buck monitoring bed spot there and leave it at that. Because he can go up and down this ridge, and that would be an escape route for sure. Got your creek right there. It definitely, if anything, it'd be just a place where he's monitoring does. Lord, you can sit right here. Any deer walking within a quarter mile, you could probably see them or hear them.
Look at that little pine tree on that bluff over there.
Man.
You see it?
Yeah, it's a billy goat country right here. This is why I quit hunting over here. I'm getting too old for this. Y'all got to figure out a way to get down in that bottom.
I'm saying we got to cut a trail.
You got to cut you a trail down into that bottom somehow. Cause when you kill a deer over here, it's going to that bottom. You got to be able to get him out somehow.
If I can get a trail to it, I'll hunt in that stupid bottom.
It's God's country.
You gotta get those places where they cross.
Well,
one cliff to the other.
Now that right there, son, could be buck droppings.
Could be. It could also be hogs.
Those are buck droppings. I think those are huge. That's another reason why I think this is probably, it could be hog, but looks like buck to me. I bet there's a bed over there. If I wasn't scared of falling off that cliff, I'd go over there and look. Well, it'd be a good spot for one to lay up. Waypoint this. Did you waypoint those doe beds over there?
I did.
I don't think I waypointed that ridge over there.
I waypointed every doe bed.
Okay. We'll sync them up when we get back. This trail's skirting the edge of this mountain laurel. In my opinion, it's going to be a big buck working this, but I don't see any rubs. He has got...
Anywhere else on this property, you come to the end of these ridges, there's always going to be big signposts, large rubs.
Well,
Not seen any.
I'm going to tell you now.
And they'll walk it with a rub.
One of the biggest bucks I ever hunted, near his bed area, he didn't put down no rubs at all. I don't know why. Didn't figure he'd marked it. I guess he figured he marked the outer edges of his bed area, and all the other bucks probably knew he was there, so he didn't need to mark his territory within. It's thick stuff right here. I agree with you. I don't think the bucks are living on this side, but you got all this doe bedding, all the doe activity. These bucks is definitely drawn to this side during the rut, pre-rut. Y'all's rut is about December, right?
Yeah, around Christmas.
Christmas time. It's peak of the rut. But you know, I've seen them full-blown rut second week of November. This long finger ridge right here, these bucks travel up and down through this old log road here.
You could put...
Searching for does. I have not seen any rubs, any scrapes, all that doe activity around there. You almost think we're on the wrong side of all of it.
That's what I think we are. I think there might be more buck activity on the side of the road.
I think so. I think you, because this being the north, remember we was talking about north versus south sides and all that stuff? The wind, prevailing wind directions and stuff. You definitely got some bucks bedding over here on this side, monitoring these does. Well, we've only found, what, 3 potential spots for that?
Yeah.
That just goes to show you, just because it looks good on topo map, don't mean it is good. But you never know till you put boots on the ground. What do you think you got right here, son?
They may be coming up from that bottom using this ridge.
Well, they're obviously using this ridge.
They're walking, all the rubs are going that way.
You got deer beds here on the end of it, and all these trails headed toward that saddle.
That pond and the acorn flat.
Yeah, they could be going to the acorn flat from here, or through that saddle from here, or off the end of into that bottom, going the opposite way from here. This don't really get me excited. If there's a buck here, he's a small buck in my opinion. Yeah, when he coming out of that bed area to this side, he's hitting this old road bed. That's a decent rub, but boy, that ain't what I like to see. So he'll work this old road bed all the way out, and he'll probably cross over where you say you keep seeing them cross. Yeah. It's probably where this is headed to. You said this is where you see the bucks cross, right? This scrape is not a bad scrape. Licking branch. See how low the he got low licking branches. He broke this. This is probably less than chest high. That, and on the other side of that saddle, which is 6.5 foot high above my head, that's the ones I like to see. You can waypoint the bottom end of this if you want to as the start of your travel route. You got 2 main trails coming from the left, 2 main trails coming from the right, and they're coming right into this gap right here. You can waypoint this as I don't know, call it buck gap or something. You got all these rubs in here. That indicates how they're getting up here. They're coming out of them big old drainage, working their way up here. We're going to have to figure out what they're going to though. Just gonna nickname it Buck Gap. And they walk right up this gap, right in between these 2 high ridges. Walk right down in this drainage. Let's go see where he's going. What do you think of the day so far?
We done.
I know we're done. I'm wore out. Sun's starting to go down. I know good and well, I think I've put in 1,700 miles today.
We found a couple of good spots.
What do we got? What do you got? What's the best you found so far?
Early season setup.
Found some good early season setups. We found some good doe bedding.
Very good doe bedding.
We found a couple of decent travel corridors during the rut for buck activity. Really, that's about it. We ain't found but 1, maybe 2. We found 2 buck bed areas, but it's rut related, ain't it?
Probably.
We haven't found anything that's like a buck core area and all the walking we've done today. We already kind of know where we think that's at. We'll do that next trip. Maybe, if I got enough energy. You about killed me today.
Let's go home and rest.
It'll take a week to get over this trip. That's it, folks, for today.